So Martin, you wrote a piece which was published at the weekend, I think, and it was a piece about wanting a new Shenmue game, wanting Half-Life 3, wanting The Last Guardian, but actually wanting them is just enough. You're probably a bit... Maybe you don't want them to materialise.
I do want them.
That's how I interpreted that you didn't want them.
Yeah, I don't think I do want... I don't think
okay.
I want them at
Talk
all.
us through it. What's it all about? You just said some heretical things, so...
It's just because it basically came off the back of I met Suzuki a few weeks ago, a big hero of mine. It was really great to meet him, but it was also quite sad as well because of his spark has been dulled somewhat by the fact he's been chasing Shenmue 3 for so long. And it became clear as I was talking to him that he very much is making Shenmue 3 at the moment, or at least trying his very best to make it a reality.
OMG?
Yeah, kind of OMG, but it's easy to forget that he's been making Shenmue 3 for the best part of 10 years already. And he's never basically walked away from it at any point. It's just a fact that it's never been able to be a reality. Although it seems like there's certain things happening now which can help make it reality. But anyway, in that time, in those 10 years since Shenmue 2, he has kind of exiled himself from the games industry and walked away from Sega. Hasn't really made anything for a long, long time, apart from a couple of iOS games of varying quality. And I don't think that this is the same Yu Suzuki that had the kind of amazing vision that
So you don't think he's up to it?
I don't think he's up to it. I think he's past it, I'm afraid. He just doesn't seem. He doesn't have the. He might have the spark, but he definitely doesn't have the money or the massive budget. Shenmue being one of the most expensive games of all time.
Did it ever go back into profit? Doesn't seem like it did. Otherwise, they'd have made another one.
It's a theory. I kind of think it must have played a massive part in Sega having to exit the hardware and business as well, because it was such a massive flop.
It seems like one of those games that's got this massive cult following.
Has it got a massive following?
Yeah, it's got a very dedicated following, and I'm one of them as well. I'm obsessed with the first two Shenmue games to the point where I made a pilgrimage to where the first ever Shenmue is based in Yokosuka in Japan.
You drove to work today in a forklift.
I did, yeah. It took hours, but it was worth it.
Got
it's
into the elevator as well.
It's kind of like a really bad version of a straight story, basically. And the end boss wasn't Harry Dean Stanton, unfortunately.
It was just a really big box.
Yeah. But even if Yu Suzuki did have all the money in the world and all the development talent in the world, I think the time for Shenmue 3 has passed.
So what about Half-Life 3? Because you're saying the same thing about that.
Again, I think Valve have moved on to other bigger things, and the idea of having a first-person shooter with a mute spectacled protagonist having the same kind of impact that the first Half-Life games had.
Can't really just do physics again, can they?
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I really liked about your article, was the idea that the games that you want, in a way, you've actually had them because they've inspired other games.
Yeah, like at the time, I probably included Last Guardian as well, but at the time, Shenmue, one of the things I love about Shenmue, one of the things I took away from it, which might be very different, I think, to what Yu Suzuki first envisaged, was that it was a game about nothing, and it was a game where it wasn't about conquering a final boss, and it wasn't about... It wasn't about going on this epic adventure. It was a really kind of slow burning, almost boring game in parts, and I quite liked that because that was at a time when that seemed like a real novelty. You didn't really get games which are about nothing more than being a really bored teenager in a small town in Japan, and that's part of its appeal was the fact that it was just the first chapter and was supposed to be a massive epic about revenge, and you never got to make the rest of it. And so we just got the first boring chapter, which is that's why I really liked about it.
What do you think's been its legacy? Because I mean, the closest I've played a little bit of Shenmue 2. The closest I've ever got since was maybe the Yakuza games, perhaps.
Yeah, the Yakuza games obviously are a very explicit success to them because that's a lot of the same people who made them, and it follows a template in the same way. You can
do a lot of pottering about and just kind of shocking.
In terms of theme and tone and everything, I think you look at things like Kart Life or other games like that, which seem to me more a successor to it, which are about more mundane things, basically games about more mundane aspects of life.
It's not an unusual idea anymore. That's not an unusual pitch. Yeah. And that was what you were saying about The Last Guardian. Like, we want this game which is kind of that is sort of bleak and sparse and somehow kind of numinous. And there are lots of games that are like that now because of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus and because of The Last Guardian in a way.
Yeah, because Journey I liked a lot. I know other people probably didn't like it as much as I did, but that felt to me like a worthy successor to Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, and kind of took that into that kind of experience into an online space and did interesting things. Whereas Last Guardian, from what I understand about it, doesn't seem to progress the formula in any way. Really, it's just Ico with a big cat.
Also, I think there's a nice mythical thing about these games where they're so much more now than they ever could be.